Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our keynote session for today. My name is Brittany Rivera. I'm the business administrator for EMSCC. Our keynote speaker is a Columbus, Ohio native, but she has been in many of our homes here in Philadelphia. Ann Cahn is an 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist with NBC 10 News, author of the inspirational memoir, I Dare Me, a cancer survivor and a mother. She is also the Director of Career Services of Media and Communications for Temple University's Kine College. Ann will inspire us to dare to recover, rebuild, and reinvent as she shares her lessons of doing one new thing a day for a year after getting stuck, and how those lessons resonate during a pandemic as we shift the way we work and the way we move. Ann, this floor is yours.
Awesome. Hi, Brittany. Hello, everyone. So nice. So glad you joined us today. And I just want to encourage you, please put something in the chat. Say hi. Say hi. Tell me what you're doing. You having lunch? You sitting in your PJs? Where you at? I want to have a dialogue here, and hopefully Brittany's going to help me bring some of you. Hi, Paula. I see Valerie in here and Meg. Happy Monday. I think it's Wednesday, right? Hi, Christine. Good to see you. I want to start by asking you, I'm going to go share my slides while you're saying hello here. I want to start by asking you, how many of you feel like during this pandemic, you are in the middle of this? How many of you feel like you are standing in the middle of a hurricane? Put in the chat. How many of you feel like you wake up in the morning and you're not sure what's about to hit you? By the way, reporters do this. It's crazy, right? We're telling you to go inside. There's a flood or there's a hurricane or there's a snowstorm. We're standing in the middle of it like crazy people, right? The rain is hitting us and the wind is buffeting us this way and that, and we don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah, we do that literally, but metaphorically, do you feel? Yes, every day I'm there. I hear you. We don't know what's going to happen when we wake up sometimes. There's so much new coming at us, so much change in the way we work, in the way we communicate. And it's times like this that we can get stuck. We can feel angry, sad, feel like circumstances are handcuffing us. We're not even sure how to move. Maybe we feel paralyzed by events. And that doesn't even count all the personal stuff that's happening to you. Could be a family crisis. Could be divorce. Could be illness beyond the pandemic, right? Life continues through this pandemic, and we have to deal with it. I know what it's like to be stuck. I know what it's like to be stuck, even though I was an 8-time Emmy Award-winning investigative reporter, a mother, wife, 2-time cancer survivor. From the outside world, everything looked great, and still I got so stuck. And I ended up on this unique journey where I did something new every single day, 365 days in a row. Yeah, crazy, right? I forced myself to do something new every single day. I ziplined across a crocodile-infested lake, and I spent a day in a wheelchair. I learned to hula hoop. I did things I never imagined that I would do. And life opened up in amazing ways. And today I'm here to dare you to go on your own journey that might look very, very different from this. To think about the things that are coming at us, the challenges, the problems, the issues, that hurricane, with a different mindset, so that we can recover, rebuild, and reinvent. But to do that, we have to do the new. Now, maybe you're wondering, how the heck did you get so stuck? What happened to you? And maybe you'll relate to this story. I started off, well, before I get to that, I want to remind you too, right? A lot of us are thinking, hey, why don't I just stick my head in the sand? Why don't I just wait till things return to normal? Because that's what we'd like, right? We'd like everything to return to pre-pandemic state. But we all know in our head and our heart, we're not going back. We're in the middle of a sea change. And if we don't change, if we don't evolve, if we stick our head in the sand, our companies, our organizations, ourselves personally, professionally, we can get stuck, not only stuck, but left behind. So yeah, I got stuck. And I started off my career maybe like you're starting your careers, or maybe you relate to this. You started doing something that you wanted to do when you graduated college. I always wanted to be a TV news reporter. That's all I ever wanted to do. And I got my first job in Chattanooga, Tennessee, a long time ago, 1978. And if you ever saw the movie Anchorman, let me tell you, these people were straight out of Central Casting, right? I lived that movie, but that's another story. So you got to imagine back in the day, before live trucks, before video cameras, before cell phones, before microwave ovens, before social media, all right? All that technology came later. And man, I just loved it. I loved all that new stuff, right? When I was beginning my career, that was just great. And I got really good at what I did. And eventually I was brought up from Miami to Philadelphia in 1987 to work for WCIO TV. I was a young mom, I was wearing my Dorothy Hamill haircut. I loved what I did. I got really good at it. And maybe you're in jobs where you're getting really good at it. You know what you're doing. You're an expert, right? There's a lot of comfort in that. And eventually, an investigative team was built around me. We were the original NBC 10 investigators. I had a producer, an editor, and a photographer. We traveled around the world. We traveled around the country, wherever the story was. It was the job of my dreams. I loved it. Maybe you were in a position right before the pandemic. You felt like, I love everything that's going on. This is where I need to be. That's how I felt. Like I'd worked really hard to get where I was, to build this investigative team. I interviewed presidents and celebrities and uncovered scandal and went to the Middle East and went to 2 Olympics, went to disasters and hurricanes. But I loved it. I loved it all. And I thought, this is the job that I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. And then everything changed. Now, it wasn't the pandemic, right? It was this. You remember this, 2009? Maybe you lived through that. Maybe your organization, your company went through this. Some of you might have been very young when this happened. But people lost their homes. People lost their jobs. People lost their health care. It was disastrous. It was life-altering. And my investigative team, which was very expensive to run, was basically dismantled. And I was sad and I was angry. I got to keep my job, but a lot of people around me did not get to keep their jobs. I was furious. It was out of my control. There was nothing I could do, much like this pandemic. And I was also being told I would have to change, right? I was going to have to learn to do new things. I was going to have to learn to tweet and Facebook and shoot my own video and edit my own video. I don't want to do any of that. I didn't want to change. I wanted to do the thing where you wait. I'll just wait till things go back to normal. Please go on without me. I'll just wait because all of this is nonsense, right? So I waited. And I waited. I decided I'm not changing. They're going to have to change. Well, guess what? Everything changed around me. But I got stuck. I was sad. I was angry. I was furious. And as the months went by, it got worse. I got to work. I got to keep my job, but I was miserable. Maybe you're feeling that now because all of this change is so overwhelming. And it's easy to just go, no, I don't want to. I don't want to change. But I also knew this wasn't good for my head or my health because I am a 2-time cancer survivor. In 1991, when I was just turning 35 years old, I was diagnosed with an aggressive breast cancer. That was almost 30 years ago. I started feeling this lump when I was 34 years old. I went to a doctor who I trusted, and she told me it was nothing. And I had a mammogram, and they told me it was nothing. They didn't see anything there. So I walked around with this cancer growing for 6 months until eventually I was diagnosed with an aggressive breast cancer. I had to have a mastectomy, chemotherapy, reconstruction, and I was terrified. I didn't even know anyone my age who had breast cancer. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to tell my story publicly because I wanted other women to know, other young women to know that, yeah, young women can get breast cancer. I had nothing in my family. I didn't have the gene. I didn't have breast cancer in my family, but I got breast cancer. And I wanted others to know if I was going down, I wasn't going down quietly. So I told my story publicly in 1991, before all the pink ribbons, before all the marches, before all of that. And honestly, I was so afraid I wouldn't see my little girl grow up because it wasn't just breast cancer. You see, the year before I got breast cancer, I had my entire large intestine removed for ulcerative colitis. So by the time I was 35 years old, I lost 2 major body parts. And I thought, who survives that? Who survives that? Obviously, I did. Here I am. I'm still alive. In fact, 10 years after breast cancer, I had a kidney cancer. I survived a kidney cancer. I had part of my right kidney removed. Yeah, I'm an empty shell of a woman. Who knew you could survive without all those body parts? So here I am, now fast forward 1991. I should be jumping up and down every day just to be alive. Just to be alive, but I'm not. I'm miserable. Even though now I've gotten to see my little girl grow up. She's grown up. She's gone off to California. She went to school. She got a job. She came home for the holidays at the end of 2009. And she looks at me and goes, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And I told her, and she said, "Mom, I'm ashamed of you. You are a cancer survivor. You know how precious life is. And you are not living your best life. What are you going to do about it?" And I said, "Listen, leave me alone, kid. You don't know. I'm working here. I'm working full time. I'm dealing with all these issues. I don't have time, right? I'm okay. I'll be all right." She said, "Mom, you're not okay. You need to change. You need to do something new." And I said, "Oh yeah? What do you suggest?" And she said, "A blog." A blog. I didn't even know what a blog was, nor did I want to do a blog. I'm writing all the time. Why do I need to write more? She said, "Mom, you've got to do something new." She said, "You know what?" And she came up with this idea that sounded crazy. "You need to do something new every day for a year to get unstuck." She bugged me and bugged me about this idea. I like, "Leave me alone. Go back to LA." But she wouldn't leave me alone. She said, listen, why don't you start with this? Why don't you just make a list of every simple thing that you've never done? Why don't we just start with this? It doesn't have to be big, just little things. I'm like, all right. So here you go. Here's the list. This was my list. And you see where my head was at, right? Eat dessert all day. That was at the top of my list. By the way, not great. That's not a great, you don't feel great at about 2 p.m. after you've been eating sugar all day. Go a day without coffee, also not great if you're a coffee drinker, but again, simple things. Give out hugs, obviously not a great idea during the pandemic, but you get the gist. And by the way, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling angry, I challenge you, I dare you, just make a little list of every simple thing you haven't done, reminding yourself of all you've yet to do. Okay, so we make the list. And then we think, all right, if I'm really going to do this, if I'm really going on this journey, I'm going to have to do something big, something symbolic, right? And we thought, well, what's big and symbolic and way outside my comfort zone? And we thought, oh, New Year's Day is coming up. What happens on New Year's Day? You guys know what happens on New Year's Day. Well, we've got the mummers in Philadelphia, and we have the polar bear plunge at the Jersey Shore. Any of you ever do the polar bear plunge? I'm looking at your chat right now. I bet some of you have, or maybe you haven't. Look, I don't go into the ocean in the middle of summer, much less the middle of winter. So my daughter says, yeah, this is amazing. This is exactly what you should do. We're going to do the polar bear plunge. And she drives me down to the Jersey Shore, and I get there. And as soon as I see all these crazy people running around, you've seen the video before. By the way, you have to go into the ocean. You know, you have, for it to count, you have to have your head in the water and be in a bathing suit. Yeah, the whole deal. And I think this is the stupidest thing I ever agreed to, and I don't want to do it. And I'm shivering, and I got 3 layers of clothes on, and I'm going to have to take them off, and I don't want to run into this ocean. Fortunately, this lovely guy in a Speedo grabs my hand, and he pulls me into the ocean with everybody else. And I go face first into the surf, and I suck up a bunch of salt water. And then Speedo guy, who I do not know at the time, he grabs my hand and he pulls me back, and he goes, "We did it. We did it." And I stood there and I went, oh my gosh, I'm laughing. I'm happy. I feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in the longest time. And I realized, okay, I don't know what this is. Whatever it is, I'm going to have to keep going. And this is what I now call the power of do the new. And I recognize that to recover, to rebuild, to reinvent, we have to do the new. By the way, this gentleman's name is Larry, and he sends me a Christmas card every year. I always love hearing from him. My stranger polar bear partner. Do the new. So what happened? Well,
Yes.
I did crazy things, like I ate a scorpion in the lollipop.
Oh, I want the whole thing. You got the whole thing. How's it taste? Like the banana sucker, I can't taste it. Is it? Oh yeah.
Like, really, I never have to do that again. I mean, there were a lot of firsts I never have to do again. But it didn't really matter what it was. You know, one day I planted my first herb garden. One day I baked my first cake from scratch. One day I walked my dog around the block backward. Very confusing to my dog and the neighbors. I realized it didn't really matter what the thing was that I was doing. Because every day I was just stepping just a little outside my comfort zone. And then I started getting braver and I stepped further outside my comfort zone. I went back to school. I started teaching school. And I realized the steady diet of doing a lot of things, some of them totally unrelated to work, had nothing to do with anything. It was just the smallest little new thing. It was retraining my brain. I was developing a different mindset. I was more resilient as this new stuff was coming at me, right? Even in a crisis. I was more able to pivot because I was open. I started seeing these problems coming at me as opportunities to do the new, to recover, rebuild, and reinvent. Crazy thing is, I did this one new thing a day for a year. I learned to blog. People started following my blog. I ended up on the Today Show with Hoda and Kathy Lee and on CNN. And my book was translated into Chinese. Crazy, right? I started hearing from people all over the world about their journeys, about their first time experiences, realizing, wait, what happened to me didn't just happen to me. This is a universal kind of experience. When you do new things, if you think about it, you think about some of the memorable first time experiences you have, how it made you feel. That's what we're talking about. And let me tell you about Keith Baldwin. If you've ever ordered trophies or awards in the Philadelphia area, you might have dealt with Spikes. It's a huge trophy and award company in Northeast Philadelphia. And Keith Baldwin started working there as a teenager. And then eventually he became a part owner. And there are about 70 employees there. And most of the employees he's worked with for decades. And I met Keith at an event where I was speaking, and you'll see it was right before the pandemic. It was a holiday event right before the pandemic. And you see everyone's in the spirit wearing reindeer stuff, except for Keith. He's in the corner there. And he came up to me after I talked about my journey, and he said, you know what? I'm going to do this too. I'm going to dare myself to do new things. And I'm like, okay. Well, stay in touch. Let me know what happens. And he did, right? And he did a lot of different crazy things. He took a plane lesson. He slept on the streets of Philadelphia to learn what it was like to be homeless. He went to different kinds of church services, a mosque and a temple, so he could learn about different religions. You see, he wore his wife's heels one day. I mean, crazy things, right? But again, it didn't matter what it was. And he started documenting it. But then the pandemic hit. Then the pandemic hit, and he had to do something he had never done before or ever thought he would ever have to do. And maybe you were in a similar situation, maybe with your organization. But he had to call all his employees and tell them they didn't have a job. And he didn't know when or if he would ever be able to hire them back. And I will let Keith tell you a little of this story now.
The worst feeling in the world. I cried a lot that day. It was an unwanted first, and I was conscious of it because I was doing a year at first. I got a call less than an hour later at 3:27, and somebody on the other side of the crisis call center needed help and needed to fill seats immediately. I was able to offer all those employees their jobs back, but as a call center, you can't imagine. I would have never been motivated to put myself out there without this first. It motivated me. And also made me find my why, helping save jobs. It gave me courage. It gave me courage to do things I never would have done.
So remember that, because we're going to come back to that idea. It gave him courage. So what happened is the day after he had to let all his employees go, he got a call to see if he could get all his employees to do a different task, a call center related to the pandemic. And he said yes, because he had been saying yes to so many different, some opportunities, things large and small, dares. He'd been stepping outside his comfort zone, getting a steady diet of those new things. So he said, yeah, he understood that maybe there was a problem, yes, but maybe a solution, a way to keep his employees employed for a while until he figured out the next thing. And he feels like that journey helped him prepare to recover, rebuild, reinvent. The thing is, one of the things I found from the steady diet of first-time experience is that there are rewards to saying yes, but when we are stuck, we say no a lot. If you think about it, think about maybe how many times you might be saying no during the day. Just be aware. When we're stuck, when we don't want that change happening, we just say, nope, 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 can't do it. You know what? Hey, Brittany, I'm hoping maybe you could help. I'm wondering if one of you would raise your hand and volunteer to come on the stage with me to help illustrate something. Is there somebody here?
Hi, Luann.
Is there somebody in the audience
So
not in their pajamas right now?
Anybody wants to join our stage, you can hit the raised hand button to have a conversation with Luann. Don't be shy. You don't have to get on camera. Oh, we do have one.
I'm going to give this person a book.
Here we go.
Oh, nice. Is it Anu?
Yes, it is Anu. I
Anu.
just did it on a whim. I decided to do something new.
I love it. Anu. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I can't see you. Oh, can you try? Oh, great. Right. Yes, yes. Daring. Wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to do something, and I want everybody at home to do it as well. Just take a risk with us. It might seem silly, but I want you to do it. Okay. Brittany, maybe you join us too. Okay. Anu,
Yes.
put your hands up here.
Okay.
Brittany. Oh yeah. All right. Now I want you to make the craziest face possible and make some noise. Oh yeah. All right. Now, Anu, did you have a note? Did you for a second go, wait, I'm not going to do this. I don't know if I can do. I don't want to do this. All right. People at home, be for real in the chat. Did you do it or did you go, no, I'm not doing that? Right. Did you hear your note?
I raised my hand thinking I'll do it, so I didn't think.
You didn't think. Good. I see people saying Christine did it, Janata, Dennis did it. I'm proud of you. And what was the result of doing this silly, crazy thing, Anu?
It gave me a moment of absolute joy.
Yes, laughter, joy, right? Oh, and we need that so bad. And it's a small risk. Now, I have been in rooms with hundreds of people doing this. I see people go, no, I'm not doing that, right? That is your no voice.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be aware of it when new things are coming at us, but understanding that when we say yes, something interesting, different, maybe it's just smile, right? A laughter, something different can happen. Letting go, Kamala says, letting go. Yeah. Anu, thank you so much. A book coming your way. Okay. Thank you for daring with me. I appreciate it. And I'm so glad that actually some of you did it because, again, we've got to understand nothing new happens when we say no. And in fact, possibilities do increase when we do the new. I'm sure when you think about it, You've found that that's true. When we try new things, it's like throwing a pebble in this karmic universal pond of life. It creates energy and possibilities that were not there before. And if that's a little too woo-woo for you, that's okay. Here's a little science. Let me hit you with some science. When you do the new, your brain actually lights up. There's a part of your brain that lights up. When you do something for the first time that's positive, your brain creates new neural pathways. Sometimes when it's doing that, we're tackling something new, it can make us feel uncomfortable, right? Wait, well, I really have to think about this. You know why? Because so much of the time we're doing things we've done before a million times and we don't think about it and we can't even remember it. When you create these new neural pathways in your brain, it becomes memorable. And not only that, the feel-good chemical dopamine is released in the brain. So when you do the new, you're creating memories, new neural pathways, and you get a hit of dopamine. It is no wonder we feel happier when we are experiencing new things, when we are trying new things. But what happens? What happens when all these new things are coming at us and we got to do everything differently every day? Or there's things that we want to do, that we want to change, but what happens? We do the little scaredy cat thing, right? What is that about? Put that in the chat, if you would. Why? Why do we do this when we're confronted with new things? This is another chance for someone to win, to get a book. Tell me, what is it? What is it that we're afraid of when we're presented with new things that we have to do? Yeah. Safety. There's safety. That's for sure. Uncertainty, failure, fear of failure. Absolutely. Fear of failure. What if we're used to being experts? What if we don't do it right? What if we don't do it right? And while we keep putting things in the chat, while I talk a little bit about habits, because we do love our habits, right? In fact, most of what we do, if we could have it our way, we would just stick to our habits every day. And by the way, if you have some good morning habits, like you work out and you have a healthy breakfast and you do a walk, whatever it is, those are great foundational habits to have, and you got to hold on to those, right? But when you are doing the same thing every day, or you are resisting change so much, like, I'm sticking to this is my routine, this is the way I do it, that is when we get stuck. I'll tell you a funny story. At Temple, I'm often in and out of classrooms and often teaching. And at the beginning of the semester, I noticed all the students would just randomly pick a chair. And then they sit in that chair for the rest of the semester. They just assign themselves that chair. So sometimes in the middle of the semester, just to dare them, I will say, get up and change your seat. And they look at me with the worst evil eye, right? Because they picked their seat and they don't want to be uncomfortable and sit somewhere else. Metaphorically, we pick our seats and we're like, I'm sitting, this is my seat. I'm sitting there, right? That's where our comfort zone. Let me look back in the chat and see what we've got. What do we fear? Yeah. Fear of failure, judgment from others. Yep. Stuck, right? We also just don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. We're used to being the experts, but for gosh sakes, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Quite honestly, nobody knows what they're doing, right? Everybody has to do something different and differently, which is a great time to practice imperfection. We don't like being imperfect. We don't want to look like we're weak, or we don't know what we're doing, or make mistakes. But we are in the middle of a pandemic where we're dependent on technology that doesn't work sometimes, or things, people get sick, or people have different circumstances. We're tasked with doing something new we've never done before. And guess what? something I learned along the way. When we do things for the first time, it rarely goes perfectly. And that's okay. You can say, hey, it's a pandemic. I've never done it before. But if we don't practice accepting imperfection, then we don't grow. We don't learn. We can get stuck. Just a few pictures. I learned to color my hair. My daughter got married in the middle of the pandemic. I threw her a virtual wedding shower. Who knew you could do that? I did crazy art projects. We all did different things. These are ways to practice not being the expert all the time, not being perfect, so we can learn to do things differently, to be open. And that's okay. It's okay. So, all right, how can we practice do the new to recover, rebuild, and reinvent? Well, this is something I usually talk about at the end. Sometimes I talk about taking care of yourself, but obviously it is the most important thing. And I know you all know, take care of yourself, right? You got to take care of yourself. You can't take care of your business, your people, your teams, your family. But are you doing it? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you taking care of your body? Are you eating right? Because if you're not, it is really hard to recover, rebuild, reinvent, to find balance, to recover you, the best you. And I'm going to say something else. I'm just reminding you, you already know this. Protect your head. There's a lot of negative out there right now. A lot of negative news, a lot of negative information. And if you find yourself, maybe you're working at home, you're watching the news is in the background all day, please turn it off. And here I am, a former TV news reporter, I'm telling you. 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon, I promise you, you can get all the news you want. And it might be worth it. Just protect what's going on in your head. You've got to be inspirational. You've got to motivate people. You're running businesses. You have relationships to build. And if you're not in the right head, that can be so hard to do. So protect your head. And the other thing I know it's going to seem, maybe silly, but you got to dare to play. This was me playing with all the toys in the toy store, and I almost got kicked out. But it was a lot of fun. When we're stuck, we forget to play. We forget to laugh. And we become more narrow in our personalities. We become more stringent. And I know all of you work really hard. And I'm a worker bee myself. I'm not good at going to play. But I recognize that, and I understand I'm not my best self if I've forgotten to laugh and find joy in the day. So I'm going to dare you to restore your best self, to make sure you look for those opportunities to play. I have a friend who every Monday runs a little 15-minute dance party. And my initial reaction to this was, no, I'm not doing this. But I realize I have to resist my no voice and say yes. And so this is what happens for 15 minutes on Mondays. We get on Zoom and my friend makes a new playlist and we dance. It's like recess. Silly, right? But we need recess, especially when there's so much stress. There's so many demands. We actually need play more. So seek it out. I'm going to a Phillies game tonight, and I can tell you I came up with 10 reasons why I shouldn't go to that Phillies game tonight, but there's one reason I should, because I know I'm going to go and I'm going to laugh. And I need that. I'm going to have a good time. There's a kid in my neighborhood in the middle of the pandemic. He's put up the joke of the day, right? Because I guess he realized everyone needed a laugh. So then he ran out of jokes and he asked the neighbors to come up with jokes. And so everyone contributed jokes. It was just kind of a pet project, but I realized I saw people coming up to the joke of the day just to go, ah. Look, we need it. Play relieves stress. Play helps us solve problems. Have you ever worked on a jigsaw puzzle and you're looking for the piece and you can't find the piece, and then you walk away for a day or a couple of hours and you come back and there it is. It was right in front of you the entire time. That's the way the brain works sometimes when you're just hitting your head against the wall trying to solve a problem. What you really need to do is get up and go play, go do something else and come back to the problem. The most productive, creative people in the world have great play lives. I know it's a serious time. I know there are serious issues, but just keep it in mind. Play helps us be our best selves so we can be our best for others. So we need to rebuild. I was in a discussion with a group of people at Temple University a few weeks ago. We were talking about how we're going to bring everybody back to campus. And I found ourselves in this circular conversation. It was like, well, if we do this, but then what happens if this happens? And then what happens if this happens? And it was just, we were just chasing our tails. And I realized we weren't making any decision at all. I don't know if any of you have found yourself in that kind of discussion situation, but I realized here we are back to the hurricane. We all probably have to think like what I call newsroom ninjas. You see, TV newsrooms and newsrooms across the country and around the world, they deal with crisis and change all day long. Pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, after the pandemic, all day long. Their organizations always are dealing with what's happening next, and changes. Now we're all often in that situation. We're all standing in the middle of the hurricane. So newsroom ninjas are the people who decide where everybody's going. They're the leaders in the organization. They have to make decisions. Well, how do you make decisions if everything is changing every other minute? Well, I'll tell you how newsrooms do it, because I think it might be a good model for us all right now. They take the information that's available first thing in the morning. They make decisions for the day based on that, but everyone in the organization understands, and this is communicated, it can and probably will change. And there's a great deal of trust in this newsroom ninja leader, knowing that you have plan B. You probably have plan C. So that if things change, you know where you can move things around. But the worst thing we can do is make no decisions. That's when we get stuck. Our organizations get left behind. We can't do that ostrich, in the sand. We have to make decisions based on the best information we have now and have plan B and plan C, communicate well all the way up and down the line, and have that trust. Your folks have to trust you that you've got this and you can make decisions as things change, because things are changing and they will change. To rebuild, we're going to have to make decisions. Dare to reinvent. And I know you all have already been reinventing. You really had no choice to reinvent. But there are benefits to being forced to reinvent. I understand some of you did yoga on the steps, which is really interesting during the conference, because I'm a board member of Living Beyond Breast Cancer. And every year we have a big yoga on the steps event. It's called Reach and Raise. And this event raises $400,000 a year for Living Beyond Breast Cancer. It's a huge part of our budget. And when the pandemic hit, we went, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We can't do this. So we decided to go virtual, knowing, all right, well, we're just probably not going to raise a lot of money. We don't know who's going to attend this thing. Well, guess what? We didn't have to spend all the money on the venue, so that saved money. And then we had people joining us from all over the country, all over the globe. We made almost as much money as we did in person. Who would have imagined? And then we just did it again and did a hybrid event this past spring with a smaller amount of people on the steps, but virtual too. Why didn't we do that before? The technology's always been there, but now we know. The other thing is, hey, if it rained, we were washed out. Well, we have plan B now, right? So we've reinvented. We're reinventing what we're doing. And you know what? Some of it's better. Some of it is actually solutions to problems we had because we didn't have a solution to, well, what if it rains before? We just lost a lot of money. Dare to reinvent. But to reinvent, to recover, to rebuild, to reinvent, we're going to have to face our own fears, right? We all have these fears, all of us. Think about personal fears. We have so many. Yeah, we're dealing with safety, definitely. We have those fears. I'm talking about fears that have prevented you from living your best life, maybe pre-pandemic. Maybe it was fear of public speaking. Maybe it was fear of flying. Maybe it's fear of swimming. I'm showing you a picture of Carmen. Carmen came to me and said, I've never learned to swim. I'm daring myself to do it. I want you to be my witness. I read your book. She said, my children want me to get in the pool with them and I've been terrified, but I need to face this fear. So will you come to the YMCA for my first swim lesson? And I said, okay. And there I am. And there's one of her kids there witnessing. She didn't even own a bathing suit. What had happened was when she was a kid, there was an accident. She got pushed under the water. And so she was terrified of the water all these years. Now she was going to face this fear. And when she got out, she was so proud of herself. And she told me a story, and she gave me permission to share this story with you. It's a personal story. She said when she was young, she sold and did drugs, and she was arrested. And she did 5 years in prison. And she told me that every single day she was in prison, she said, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to change everything when I get out of here. And she did. She did. She changed her diet. She stopped smoking. She started facing her fears purposely. She went back to prison to help other women live a better life. She went back to school. But she said something to me that really resonated. She said, every time I faced a fear, I felt more courageous. And remember that Keith Baldwin said that too. More courageous. You see, studies show when we face a fear, it transfers to other parts of our life. So this fear you're thinking you're facing has nothing to do with your business, your organization, but it does. It does. It has an impact on how you lead, your ability to pivot and be resilient and recover, rebuild, and reinvent. Courage, the courage to say yes, the courage to try new things. When you face a personal fear, that courage transfers to other parts of your life. Oh, by the way, she did go back to school, and she was the first in her family to get a 4-year degree. And now she's working on her master's. So, very proud of her. Look, one of the scariest things I ever did was leave Channel 10. I was there for 28 years. I'd been a reporter for 40 years. My gosh, I never did anything else in my entire life but be a reporter from the time I graduated college. But after I went on this journey of firsts, Oh, I learned to tweet and Facebook and shoot my own video, and I wrote a book, right? And I blogged. I was teaching school. I went back to school. Everything had changed. 5 years later, though, I realized, wow, it is time for me to make the next leap. And it was terrifying. But I was excited too, because I wanted to speak and write and do different things. And it was time. So I made that leap. And I'm so happy because now I do get to dare the next generation of communicators at Temple University. And I get to dare wonderful people like you. So right now, I want to dare you to put in the chat a dare. A dare. One dare. One simple thing that you would like to do. It doesn't have to be big. Put in the chat. Somebody's gonna get a book. Ah, you finally took a swim lesson. You related to that story, Christine. That's great. What would you do? One dare. And while you're thinking of what that dare would be, rent a bike this weekend. I like that. Keep putting in the chat. While you're thinking of your dare and putting that in the chat, you know, when you say the thing out loud, it becomes more real. You're putting it out in the world. It's more likely to happen. And also, I will tell you, when you share your dare, if you can find a partner, as somebody in your family to do that thing with you, or a friend, you bond with the people you do first-time experiences with. Share your dare. Tell people in your life you're going to do new things. Hang my shingle. I love that. Ask for a promotion, big one. Takes some courage, right? Ask for the promotion. Parasailing. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. All of these things are great dares. And I'm going to let Brittany pick who's going to get the book. Dare to be a diversity leader, right? Dare to pivot. Dare to go in a new direction. Dare to try new things. You know, I'm going to share one more story with you. I know we're coming up on the hour here. People ask me all the time what my favorite first-time experience is, and it's this. A friend of mine dared me to talk to a complete, total stranger, someone I didn't know at all. And I thought, well, that's so easy, right? How hard can that be? But I went to Rittenhouse Square and I started walking around looking for someone to talk to, and I see all these people like on, oh, what is she doing? Why is she looking at me? But then I saw this gentleman, and he's sitting on a bench, and he's not paying any attention to me, and he looks sad, and he looks lonely. And I walked by him a couple times, you know, trying to figure out what's going on. And then I just plopped myself next to him. And I said, nice day we're having. And I felt so glad his face lit up, and he said, it sure is. It sure is. I said, do you come here often? And he said, I do. I do. Since my wife died, I come here. And he told me this amazing story about how he and his wife had traveled the world. They both had their own businesses. And he loved her and he missed her. And I finally said, you mind me asking what happened to her? And he said, she died of breast cancer. And it just took my breath away for a second. And I thought, should I tell him? Okay, I'm going to tell him. I'm a breast cancer survivor. And he looked at me like I was some kind of angel. And he asked me, what made you stop and talk to me today? Why did you talk to me? And I told him about my journey. I told him I was doing something new every single day. And, you know, some people hear that and they go, that's a little crazy. But he looked at me like, yeah, I completely understand. I told him about that journey. And then he said, I want to share a poem with you that my wife left me. And he read this one line. He said, "Don't promise me forever. Love me today." I'll never forget it. I took a little video of him, and I have this picture. And I always thought I would see him again. I always thought, I'll go through Rittenhouse Square, I'll see him again. I never did. I've looked for him. I've had other people looking for him. I've never seen him again. Sometimes I think he was just an angel sent to me. We had this incredible conversation. You know, this life conversation. Maybe he was sent to me to remind me that we are all connected. And we don't have forever, do we? We do have today. And today, we get to decide. We can go down the road to stuck. We can go down the road to resisting change, to saying no, or we can say yes. We can experience new things. We can light up our brains with new experiences. We can dare to be imperfect. We can learn new things. We can recover and rebuild and reinvent. We can do the new. And I dare you today, I dare you to do the new. And I thank you.
Hi, Luann. Thank you for sharing your journey through doing something new every day. I think you've inspired us all to take that leap of faith, whether it's small or large. We are concluding this session. Our next session will be starting at 1:15. So head over there, take a break, maybe think of what your dares are going to be. But our next session will start at 1:15 and we'll see you there. Thank you.